Hello and welcome back to Autistic After Hours. I'm your host Ashra, and today we are going to be talking about tips for surviving the dentist as an autistic person. The reason why I'm making this episode today is because I recently went to the dentist. Actually, it was yesterday. And there's a whole story time behind it, so I will give you all the story time. But I also wanted to include tips because I know that going to the dentist is a very common fear for a lot of autistic people. Rightfully so. It sucks, and we're going to talk about it. Before we get into the episode, quick reminder to follow Autistic After Hours on Instagram. I post original content on there every single week. Also, be sure to follow the show wherever you're listening, whether that's on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube. Before we get into any of the tips, I want to actually tell you guys the story time of what happened. So basically, 4 years ago, I had a cavity, a deep cavity, in my bottom right, second to the back molar. I got the cavity filled, and right after getting it filled, it felt fine for like a few days, and then something went wrong. What I think happened is I ate a really hard crouton, and I think it cracked the tooth because it was already a little bit weakened from the really big cavity filling. So I waited like 6 months. It was really super sensitive, but it got a little bit better over time, but the sensitivity never fully went away, and every time that I bit down something hard on that tooth, it would like zing. So I went back to the dentist after 6 months, and they redid the filling to try and see if that was the problem. Maybe there was an issue with the filling. It didn't get better. And literally for the past 4 years, I've gone to like 3 or 4 different dentists just for routine cleanings. And every single dentist told me that I needed a crown on that tooth. They've taken x-rays, and with the x-rays and with just the physical actual examination of the tooth, nobody could ever see anything wrong. They couldn't see anything wrong with the filling. They didn't see any infections or anything with x-rays, and they didn't see any big cracks or anything like that, except one person told me that they could see a very small fracture in the tooth. But aside from that, no other dentist told me that they could see anything wrong. So they surmised that there was a very, very hairline crack in the tooth that was not visible with x-rays or just physically looking at the tooth. And the best treatment would be to get a crown. So after 4 long years, I finally worked up the courage to go do it yesterday, and it was not a good experience. It's done, and I'm glad it's done, but it sucked. And I want to talk about tips that I used / tips that I recommend in general that I think can help you get through the process of going to the dentist, because it is such a common and very valid and understandable fear for a lot of autistic people. I think the first thing that is helpful is actually acknowledging your fear, because for me at least, because it was such a big fear, I often just wouldn't want to talk about it at all. I didn't want to acknowledge the fact that I was scared. I didn't want to acknowledge the fact that I needed a crown. I just wanted to forget about it, and I wanted to just write it off, even though it stressed me out every single day for the past 4 years. And I did talk about it a lot with my boyfriend. I would bring it up all the time because I was constantly reminded, because of the tooth pain, that something was wrong and that I needed to do something about it. And it got to a point where I was worried it was going to actually start affecting my health, or I could get infected and then something even worse could happen. So it really built up in my mind this huge fear that I really wanted to ignore, but I couldn't ignore. And so I think the first step is talking about it, just being yes, I am really scared of the dentist, and I know that it's something that I have to do, and so I have to work through this. And I'm acknowledging the fact that I'm very, very scared, and it's very understandable for me to be scared. It's a horrible sensory experience, especially for people that have sensory struggles. So it's totally valid and reasonable for you to be really scared and not want to do it. And so I first want to say that. I want to validate the fear and also bring attention to it, say we can acknowledge it and understand that it's valid and work through it. The next tip is to do research. I, for one, feel a lot better about things once I really thoroughly research them. So actually taking time to look into whatever it is that you have to do, whether it's just going for a routine cleaning, or maybe you need a crown, or maybe you need a cavity filled, maybe you need x-rays, maybe you need a root canal, whatever it is that you need done, research it, learn about it, learn what the process is like. And I guarantee that you will find that it's a very safe procedure, probably what you need to do. It's something that dentists probably do all of the time. And that can help you feel a little bit more safe, knowing that this is something that dentists are experienced and skilled in doing. And so you are in good hands, and doing research on the dentist that you go to, making sure that you feel safe, knowing that you feeling safe is the biggest and main priority. And so it's okay to take time to do research that you need to do, to find the right dentist for you if you're able to, and to do the research on what you need done so you know exactly what's going to happen when you go in for whatever that thing is. If you want, you can even contact multiple dentists and ask them to walk you through it. I have talked to probably 3 or 4 different dentists about the procedure of getting the dental crown. Each of them has walked me through exactly what it would entail. They've given me exactly the reason why it's the suggested treatment, and they've all aligned on it. And so that made me feel really safe, knowing that every dentist I spoke to gave me the same exact answer. That made me feel like, okay, this is probably the best way to go. This is what every dentist is saying. In my research, it's showing that the best thing to do for my situation is get a dental crown. They've all aligned and told me the same thing with how the procedure would go. And so I feel safe moving forward with this. So make sure you feel safe. But of course, feeling safe does not mean that the fear goes away. And so taking care of yourself sensory-wise is really important. Things that I would recommend are wearing noise-canceling headphones during whatever it is that you're getting done. I've never come across a dentist who said no to this. I think that if anything, most dentists are happy to have you accommodate yourself, because then their job is easier. If you are feeling good, then they can actually get done what they need to get done. So wearing some noise-canceling headphones, and you can listen to music if you want, listen to a podcast, or you can just have the noise cancellation on so you can still hear what's going on, but it gets rid of the really painful sounds of like drilling or screechy sounds or anything like that. You can also bring a sim toy so you can be simming while you're getting the procedure done. You can bring a blanket, you can bring a stuffed animal, whatever that will make you feel safe. Wear something really comfy, wear layers if you want. I've personally like to wear like layers and really cozy like sweatshirts or sweatpants when I'm getting something done, because when I'm really anxious, I get really cold and I shiver, I start to shake. So having like layers and really comfy, cozy, warm things helps me a lot. You can also bring sunglasses or even a blindfold if you want to completely not see what's going on, if that makes it easier for you. Basically thinking about any sort of sensory thing that might come up and preparing for that in advance. And again, you can consult with the dentist beforehand and you can tell them as much information as you want. You can tell them that you're autistic, or you don't have to tell them that. You could tell them you have sensory issues, or you don't have to, but either way, you have a right to accommodate for yourself, and you can tell them exactly what you'd like to do and confirm it with them beforehand, so everyone's on the same page. You can tell them, I'm going to be coming in for a crown on this day, or for whatever it is that you're doing. I'm going to be wearing noise-canceling headphones. I'm going to bring whatever it is that you need and confirm it with them so that you're all on the same page and you have the ease of knowing like, okay, I can use my accommodations and I can lighten the load a little bit, reduce the stress a little bit. Even though I'm still going to be scared, this can help me manage my feelings in the moment and feel a little bit calmer and safer while it's happening. Something else that I would recommend, and this is something that I've been doing for a few months now, is if you feel like verbal communication is difficult for you when it comes to talking to doctors, or when it comes to talking when you are nervous or anxious, you can write everything down. You can type it out, or you can write it down, or you can just like type it in your phone, whatever, so that you can show the dentist or the doctor that, rather than having to verbally communicate to them in the moment. For example, if you have been having tooth pain in a specific tooth for a few years now, and you don't know what's wrong with it, but you know that it hurts every time you brush your teeth, or it hurts every time that you bite something hard on it, whatever it is, you can write that down. You can write, like, even in the note, you can be like, I'm writing this down because verbal communication is hard for me and I want it to be as clear as possible. So here's all the information that you need, and here's all of the questions that I have, and like, here's what I want to discuss today, and here's what I'm hoping to do moving forward. This is what I'm hoping to get done, or like, I want your advice on what's the best move from here, given the information that I've told you. So you can write everything down in a really clear and concise way so that you don't have to feel the pressure of verbally communicating that and remembering all the details and talking under pressure when you're nervous and anxious in the moment. You can just have that paper ready to go, give them all the information they need, because in the end, it doesn't matter how they get the information. What matters is that they understand why you're there and that you've expressed what you need to say and what you need to express for them to be able to help you. So doing that in whatever way feels comfortable and the most efficient for you is the most important thing. And if any dentist makes you feel weird or like doesn't accept that, then that is a sign of them not being an accommodating dentist, and I would recommend getting out of there. The next thing that I want to talk about is paying for dental visits, especially if you don't have insurance, can be absolutely incredibly expensive, and you may not be able to afford it. If I have to get a root canal, I may not be able to afford it, and it's a very scary situation that a lot of us are in, where we need help but we can't afford it, and it's a shame and it's horrible that that's the situation that so many of us are in. But one thing that I would recommend is talking to your dentist to see if there's an option to do payment plans. You might be able to set up like a monthly payment plan, which you may be able to afford rather than having to pay the full rate right there and then. So talk to them about that. Explore, if there are multiple different dentists that you can call and see who does a payment plan. Try and go to one that does, so that maybe you can afford what you need to do and not have to just pay a huge fee right up front. The next thing that I would recommend is really taking time to process what needs to happen and not rushing into anything. Don't feel pressured to rush into anything. Of course, there are some times where there's a dental emergency, and in that case, you have to do what you have to do, and maybe you do have to rush into it because it's an emergency. That's a different situation. But if there's a dentist telling you that you should do something and you're iffy on it, take time to process it, talk about it with whoever you can as much as you need to, and really process what they've said and wait until you feel safe if you can. Again, sometimes it's an emergency and something that you have to act on right away, and that's different. But if you can take a little bit of time to process and really think it through, I think that can help you feel safer. And that's what I did with this crown. I literally took 4 years, and I do not recommend taking that long because I was pushing it to a point where it could have gotten to an emergency. It could have gotten serious and dangerous. So I don't recommend that. But I needed to take that much time to feel comfortable enough to do it. And so it's valid and understandable if you need to take time to process and come to terms with it before you feel safe enough to do it. Overall, it is such a common fear, and so many of us experience it, and going to the dentist sucks. There is no way around it. It just sucks. It is a terrible sensory experience, and the best thing that we can do is just try and ease the stress of it for ourselves. If we can accommodate ourselves, make ourselves feel as safe as possible through it, and just know that it is unfortunately a part of the human experience to have tooth issues. A lot of us have tooth issues. Again, a lot of autistic people, because oral hygiene can be difficult for us for a lot of different reasons. So you are not alone. It's a valid fear, and getting through it together is the best thing that we can do. The last thing that I want to recommend, and this is very dependent on your situation, this is not the best idea for everybody, but if you are particularly anxious to the point where you don't think you can do it, to the point where you might be unsafe at the dentist office because when they start working on you, you might push them away from you, or you might try and get up in the middle of the procedure, I would explore the option of medication, of maybe anesthesia or like laughing gas. I don't know what the medical term is for that, but if you can take some sort of anti-anxiety medication or be put to sleep for the procedure or take the laughing gas, maybe that is something you can look into. I personally know that I've had experience with both laughing gas and with anesthesia. When I got my wisdom teeth removed, I was put under with anesthesia, and it was totally okay. I did start crying really hard when I woke up, and overall, like, I didn't feel anything. The anesthesia put me to sleep the way it was supposed to, but when I woke up, I was very overwhelmed and confused and crying hysterically for like hours. So, you know, I guess it's a give and a take. Like, I didn't have to experience the procedure, but like waking up from the anesthesia was not that great of an experience for me. However, laughing gas was pretty awesome. I got that one time when I was younger, and I was just having fun. I was having a blast. I was laughing so hard that the dentist had to pause working on me because I was belly laughing from that laughing gas. It truly made me laugh. It was fun. I don't know the medical effects or if there's any concerns, and so I am not recommending that you take any medications, but I'm just saying it might be worthwhile to explore it if it's an option for you, because sometimes just being put to sleep, or sometimes using the laughing gas or some sort of anti-anxiety medicine, sometimes that is the only way that you're going to be able to get it done, because maybe your fear is so strong that you are not even able to go into a dentist's office without some sort of medication. And again, totally valid, but explore that with a professional, because I am not a professional and I am not recommending this, just sharing what a possible solution could be. And I will say one thing, if I have to get a root canal, because with this crown, they did say that there's a 10 to 15% chance that I'm going to need a root canal because the crown may not get rid of the sensitivity. It might be like a nerve issue, in which case I need a root canal, which is going to suck. But if I do, I'm asking for laughing gas, because I had a positive experience with laughing gas, and I would not be able to sit through a root canal based on how my experience was with getting the crown, because I almost was at a point where I was about to push everyone off of me and run, and I don't want that to happen while I'm getting a root canal. So thank you for listening. I wanted to make this episode to give some tips and also show that you are so not alone in your fear. I am so scared of the dentist, and it is so hard, and it is something so many of us go through. So you're so not alone, and I'm grateful that you're here, that you're listening. Please leave in the comments any tips that you might have, or if you want to share any dental stories that you have, feel free. As always, remember, autistic adults exist. We deserve awareness, support, community, and acceptance, and I'm so grateful that you're here. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.